Hello. Good morning. Sorry about that. I take the dogs for a walk before stream and have to get breakfast quickly. And oatmeal's not the quickest to eat. So, um, hello. I'm declared. Thank you very much for the sub, as I said. Appreciate that very much. Elneth, Annie, maybe. Thank you very much for joining. Nets, good morning. Does your stack have something so you can generate pieces of the HTML on the back end and replace this page with it? No. I'm a big believer in complete separation. I've no templating or not even thought to do that sort of behavior. I have my client and I have my servers, and that's it. So I keep a tighter separation there. Yeah, I don't have any back end HTML generation at all. Okay, so last week, declared it's not. Oh, why is it not? I don't see that link declared. I don't know why. Unless it was .NET. Was just curious. It's a new pattern for me. Playing with Hotwire. Oh, oh, you know what? Gotta start the prerequisite. Yeah, I haven't. Dota, thank you very much for 29 months. Appreciate it. Docker compose. So this is happening because I didn't start all the prereqs first. Yeah, got before. Appreciate the prime sub. Okay. Yeah, if you don't start all the database and everything else you need for a system, unsurprisingly, things don't work. Who knew? I don't know. What's the use case for the considering the way that clients and backends work these days? Like I can imagine if there was something like Nuxt on Next in there with SSR, that'd make sense. But your backend service is sending back HTML. I mean, I can dream up. Interested to know. Okay, this should start now. Things should work a little better. I'm going to try and do everything dev profile. Minimal JavaScript, but still good interaction on the front end, powered by the back end. Go lay down, Taylor. Come, go lay down. You're not having a cookie. Nope. Hello, hello. When will only start to back in. Yeah, it's in this case passing HTML down. It's more not that I can't imagine a use case for it. It's more the where we are with you know software in general. In a second. Oh, what I'm trying to do is I've created a profile, a Chrome profile. Um, failed to get. Does it reset my console? This is why practicing stuff is a very good idea. Um, Especially like the DevOps aspects of it, the things that you want to run and have automated, right? So that's like, right. Now they're giving a product roadmap for a year. They are treating it as an immutable plan. They will hold us to. Funny idea. Embracing agile, right? Um, my camera's stuttering. Oh yeah, it is. We've glitched. Interesting. Quit that one. You'll lose the camera today. Now frozen. Camera call. That's weird. I've got a robotic movement to me. Very strange. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna go camless today. I'm not gonna spend my 1.5 hours of stream time trying to debug camera issues that shouldn't be camera issues, which is streaming. As long as you can hear me, right? Um, the run. Welcome in. Hello again. People, background, and then display the page with the data. Always a bunch of stuff for targeting frames and .com. The devs planned out 40 tickets. Very effective on back on a deadline that. Yeah, kind of. I love sitting watching birds while I'm streaming. Okay, well we'll deal with it for that and fix the camera later. Dogs have just settled, so I don't. No. Okay, so what I was going to do there is I have um, I have scripts that run on startup. So again, there's a lot of backend pieces to Kaizu as well. And I start console up. And right now, what I do is I pull my Kafka configuration from console. And the reason I do that is because then I have a mapping for right, white. So in console, I have key value pair that should be here. And what this is when when each app service starts, it goes to console and says, "Hey, can I have my Kafka configuration, please?" And that gives you its key value pair of message type to topic. And I've said, hey, I care about this message type, and it looks up the topic name in here. I only have to maintain the topics in this place, and the entire system will be consistent, right? I could store this in all manner of other places, but console was the one that did it. Um, I built it to experiment. Scale it. It's not. It's possible to make it scalable, but right now it's not as scalable as it could be. But that's not my primary focus. My primary focus when starting this project was to use technologies that I didn't have a ton of commercial experience of, right? So I'm trying to gain that knowledge. I think the only way you do some of that is by building something, trying to understand those limitations. You often don't get to do this in life, not alone anyway. So what's happened here is the configuration. So when Kafka, when I brought down um, the container and brought it back up, um, what's happened is console has a startup script in it. Wow, I'm having a good day for my brain today. Um, come on, there we go. So I'll bring up the when console starts and right, and that will import the configuration. If I go to here, actually that's an in. I should raise that. Why? Why? You don't want to start the day debugging this stuff. But what I was saying was, this is exactly why you need to practice stuff. This is why you need to 2 minute argument. Update console. What? And the problem is I probably haven't mapped this. Is the computer in general lagging? Beam lagging? Oh, no, no. It's the software that runs the camera started properly. So the problem with this is I don't want to think about how I get around how I do it. So this configuration, the actual snapshot, this snapshot, it go back to Docker, but problem is I think the encoding probably isn't work. Snapshot. So we do That creates any arguments that two do. So I've got a feeling that console update. I don't think you can do console KV import. Okay, it does, but it's been working. It's a dash space dash HTTP address. That normal standard would be that double dash though. I don't think that's it. Yeah, it's not a single dash. Oh, looks like that doesn't. Oh, there you go. Address. Can't zoom this in, unfortunately. It's a weird standard. It is a weird practice that to use a single dash for command arguments with names. Normally, it's single for letters. And that's right. Either way, either way, import. Yeah, let's do it that way. Console or app. App. There you go. Okay, so that's what it imports. Right. It's my type name. This gives me one central place for this. Um, console. I don't use console for its main. Oh, I don't use console for its service behavior, so I'm not using a name server. So um, all I'm using it for is this. So I don't need. However, it should now be good. So everything should start up, get its configuration. Should be good. Not Kaizu project. Yeah. If you are new to the stream, if you have any questions, thoughts, opinions, I'm more than welcome to share. Happy to show stuff here. Project is not open source. But I do a lot of on stream. So where am I going? LS. Of course. Forgot I'd ask you. Always fascinating watching experienced devs code because the workflow looks so incredibly different. Practice and variety, I suppose, right? Okay. So the problem I have with this project right this second is in reality, if this was a product, there is absolutely no way one person would be developing this, right? It's it's too big. Keep everything in focus. Things like these DevOps issues, things like things just like this that That's now something for me to worry about in that I've got an init container, but that won't start up and always init Kafka thing. But should I put the effort in there, or should I put the effort into designing, deciding on where something else should live? Do I store it in a database? Everything, or do I store it like? Do I provide an admin service for myself? There's all sorts of other challenges. So, what I was working on over the weekend. So last week we finished with you can now transition from an exploring to a committed or cancelled phase. This was on Thursday. We kind of got this working. Did some refinement on that over the weekend. And now I need a reason to move forward. This is always something that you kind of when you're building software, what you don't want to do is develop what you think you need too far out ahead. You want to develop just what you need to need something else. It's a hard thing to hold to. I don't always do it well, but I try. And in this case, what I did with a little bit of conversation, I feel normal. Welcome in. Is I decided that I was spending too much time focusing on fixing every status possible and not actually trying to use the software as I went. So I pulled myself back a little bit. So as it stands, the idea of this is that from exploring, you can from commit. Let's create a new initiative, sample initiative through workflow. So I need a description. We don't need it. So off sample initiative, you can go from exploring to committed and cancelled. Once you transition to committed, that work now can be planned. Um, this is now an exploring, so shouldn't really be able to do ads here, but that's a fight for another day. But once you transition to committed, um, oh, I fixed that one. Come on, yeah, and that's because everything hasn't gone full circle. Um, because I've hard refreshed, that shows the eventual problem in that because of the way the data flows, progress. Again, this is me reining back in my ideas and thinking. I was thinking through them, typing them out, and saying, "Hey, this is how this should work." And then when I actually got to implement it, realized that it was not going to do. So you just got to change. But the eventual consistency problem is I created something here. It went up here, created this thing in this, and published to Kafka eventually, and then will get picked up by the view eventually and be available to the GraphQL. So if things worked right, um, challenges if it's not made it through. Likelihood is I've got something to work somewhere, which does fit with what I've been seeing the last. So okay, I log and look at crashes. Um, not right this second. It would cause a problem. That is one thing where I am looking at how do I handle that on the server because I don't have versions in place right now. I do version on some things, but that would be hey, got the old version, match what you so yeah, I'm still working on that. Again, this is what I'm saying, right? The whole once you start doing this, you can really laser focus in on one component. So to me, it's more let's get the workflow going, and then I can come back. And now I know the use cases, I can solidify those things. In that case, if you try and update something that has been updated since you pulled it, how do I do that? What is the pattern for getting that data? Because you don't know on the server when you go to update it that it is out of date. Last in, last in wins is really dangerous. So my plan to kind of minimize that is when it does get updated, tell everyone, hey, this thing has been updated, and which will make it noisy, but very small. Hey, this is outdated. Um, or view it because right now when you view it, you don't. It doesn't automatically um, do a doesn't automatically do a pull from the server. It will work off local data. Um, yes, I'm still trying to figure out how to partition that to make it less noisy. Still some patterns there that are sort of learning. We created sample initiative workflow that got created. Boring phase. Output. MX. Ooh. Second time I've got a message that's stuck. Problem. This isn't processing. This isn't getting there because actually this is actually highlighting the problem I had the other day. Is deliverable. Look at that. What we were just talking about. When a user clicks on this button, issue an AJAX request to click and replace the entire button with the HTML response. Asking about bringing HTML back from the server, right? Got some learning to do. Okay, so let's see if any other messages go through because I'm starting to be concerned. This is looks like it's deep magic. Push the browser. Yeah. It does concern me how chatty that could be. My thought would be to make sure you're pushing you're partitioning properly by groups, client groups, um, WebSocket messages. I mean partitioning, kind of mean partitioning. Running. Yes. So the challenge. So yeah, I've put some thought through it, but I just decided to defer on some answers. So right now, I'm using um, NGRX signal stores. So all the data is pulled and stored in a signal store locally, which means when you're navigating quick, it's actually loading data that it's got locally. I experimented early on with some ideas of, hey, it's stale. James, how you doing? It's stale. Refresh next time you need to, right? So that's kind of where I wanted to head. I also wanted to experiment with, do I just send IDs of things that changed? How noisy could that get? What does that look like? If I send a message to the client and say, by the way, these things are stale, and it marks them as stale so that the next time you go and look at them, it goes and pulls them fresh from the server. Is that a solution? It doesn't solve the problem of if I've sent it, it does solve that problem because that's if you see it, I've sent it, it's on the server, so there's something. Um, but these are genuine challenges that I'm going to have to overcome. I know this. Um, but do I just push? Hey, these IDs have changed. You might need to refresh them. Every client that's logged in on a tenant changes. That's probably not as noisy as I think it might be for a tenant. I mean, if I'm working through, well, if I have 10,000 users and 3,000 active users right the second across 200 tenants, there's still a lot of messaging, but it's not going to be happening constantly. Could still run the risk. So the patterns for how to make sure the data is accurate. But then again, look at Jira. There's a lot of times where I've looked at Jira and thought, oh, it's not out, it's not looking right, it doesn't work right because it's something similar, right? It's using central consistency. That's how they're scaling out the system. What I'm looking for right now is some clue, some hint as to why failing. Go back, planning applications. Yeah, this will create a change which will trigger an event. Yeah. It updated delivery. If the processing stops, because this one should have been picked up before, so I think it's erroring. The challenge here is this is why I need to get more involved in. This is one of those areas where you definitely need some level of tracing or logging or alerting. This runs as a background process. This is bots. This is a separate library, separate thing, so I don't have debug. I have to test this, and it should still log here. But it's insert into notification outbox. That is part of that library. Kafka. As if the outbox has been inserted into notification outbox. No, because this has worked. The fact that this date is here means that it did work on Saturday. But you can see I did 3 things on Saturday. It worked fine. on Friday night, late Friday night, 4:30. Then all of a sudden, get up Saturday morning, 7 a.m., try to do something. This one goes through, easy, and this one stops, and nothing's happening. So I think this message, complete that row, the rest go. That, that was a new message. Oh, that was- Now, the way this is set up is if it throws an exception or errors, it should move. It should try it again and again and again. The retry count wasn't increased, right? So it's not like it was erroring, and then eventually it'll move it to dead letter queue. Dead letter queue is just something around it. So I can't just reinsert it back into this, which is always something I change. If I want to requeue messages, and for notification outputs, not the you need those things because the domain, the data consistency in the system will be affected by these. They're strings right now. This came from SQL Server, great port. I could probably make them JSON B, but I'm not querying these. I'm just like DCL as an object. Oh, that one processed. That one processed. Come on, you can process. Okay. No, I appreciate it. I appreciate the questions. It's good. Okay, so that was collecting from Outbox now. So that message particularly was stuck. The notifications, I've got to revisit notifications. And this is what I'm saying in terms of just the sheer number of services to keep in my head. Notifications is part of the changes pipeline. The changes pipeline processes objects, calculates what actually changed, adds detail to them, and then asks, does anyone care about being notified about this? And builds up the actual notification piece. So this is trying to receive an object that doesn't match. So I'll come back onto that later. Okay, so now, eventually, should have, there we go. So now we've got 5 again. So data came through. So what I was working on, and this is kind of why I'm actually path is, and what I started saying, I decided to stop trying to progress this piece specifically and move to planning now. So on planning, I started going through and identifying, okay, what do I need to do in terms of status, etc. And what I determined was, technically right now I only know two states, defining and planning. Defining is I'm adding the requirements. Planning is now this can be planned. So what I did was gave me a reason to look at to change initiatives. So once something is set to exploring, um, it can be transitioned out of exploring. Oh no, sorry, not exploring. Once something's committed, the only thing that moves this on from committed is when it starts to be worked on. So when these planning items, these deliverables, start to be planned, then then this will change. That's the goal. What it did, week, why, and I'm now concerned that that was causing a bug somewhere. Messaging was when when you update the status of the deliverable. So the update deliverable. So when you update the status, Apply update. One of these status, update status. You switch this, and it publishes deliverable status updated. This event then listen to on this notification handler. So once that data is saved to the database, or what the current status is, so we know what exactly the user did. Now we have the event that fires. And this goes and loads a deliverable out, says, okay, it's got an initiative attached to it. We need to tell them to update their phase based upon its deliverables. This is another command that gets sent. And this one says, go and get the initiative, and then go and get any of the deliverables that are currently in planning. Again, doing the bare minimum of what I need to do to make it work. So if there's any in planning, then we test to see if we can transition from our current state to in planning. This is broken. This is not going to work in the long term, because this will actually that's a problem as well. This will create weird bugs where if you move something to in planning, if and this is set to cancelled, it'll move this into planning. So there's a problem there. Repository. Right? But that's not the problem. So that message that would trigger this is the message that I deleted. So something is going wrong between serializing and deserializing that message. I don't know what it is because the message itself, the event, was identifier from status to status source identifier. All that's being deserialized out of that queue, essentially that is a queue. The outbox is just a queue of messages to process. Yeah, there's no reason why that should fail. And even these, I don't need these grayed out fields. I'm not using. So yeah, so on deliverable status updated, deliverable status updated, we have this. There is no registration here for these. They're added by virtue of being part of mediator. So all the outbox does is it does the actual mediator part of that, and then when it processes, it says, "Hey, mediator, broadcast or notify, publish." One of them, and it just any consumers of that will pick it up. So yeah, so this is the background service running every 10 seconds. The longest lag you have in adding processing it about 10 seconds. So I now get to burn myself with my. We have a breakpoint. Deliverable. One of the problems is so long to set some of this stuff up. That being said, I can probably go in here, set this to actually, it doesn't matter what I set this to. We'll update the status right now. Not hard coded to. This should get picked up no matter what. I don't care what the status is. I just want to say, hey, the status is this, and figure a refresh of your backend. Loading it. Actually, Melon, when I'm thinking about it now, I'm like, I could just simply check to see if the object that I'm sending in matches fields that I'm sending in for the object match fields I'm updating. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. I'm changing it. Thinking about you. Wait, tackling that. Let's forget to ask. Does Kaizu stand for something? Is it a framework? So Kaizu means teacher in Japanese, as far as I can tell. Um, it's meant to be a um, bit of a mix though, because Kaizen, right? Um, teacher direction. Um, but yeah, kind of a. There's a few things going on with the name, but Kaizu means Japanese. Okay, if I move this back to defining, to hit my breakpoint, hopefully well. I don't want to see this fail. Oh, yep, got to all updated. Nice. Why does that say planning item still? Change that. I was, yeah. Full status updated. Not get. Oh, and I didn't want. That's really that's stuck again. So the deliverable updated. True. Deliverable status. That didn't make a copy paste. I mean, not that I would copy and paste. Oh no 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 no. No. The good news is if you stop the host running, if you stop the host, then you can stop everything else. But we do need to get that. So if this was not, this was not registered properly, I could, um, leave the namespace stuff in there. But we never actually got here. Now that message is stuck. That never processed. We would have hit that with a breakpoint. The fact that it gets to the outbox means it's processable. The other one works fine. It's not like the outbox has got. I think it. With the data. I wonder if that can't go deep. I don't have too many examples of that, do I? Wonder if it's struggling to decode that from a period. Oh, of course. It is trying to do that. So it's trying to trying it's a type. It's a this is the difference. This is what I've done wrong. Okay. I've set this to status. So I thought I was being clever, but it can't be. I need to do that well because these will also fail. That's why. It can't it doesn't know what that type is. Right. Let's guess there. Let's try that. But almost certain that there's um I don't use them right now anyway, so this is going to be edible, but this will prove this will prove the reason. I think I need to look at how to add custom encoding, decoding to actual outbots. Go to that one. Uh, yeah, yeah, that would that would cause that. So that's a strongly typed enum essentially, and it serialized it okay, um, but um, deliverable status. This is the deliverable status. It's a as somebody strongly typed enum. It's basically an enum in its behavior. However, it has more behavior to it, so I can test to see if it can go between phases or different statuses later. I think what's happening there is not knowing how to decode that value, so to prove it. That's not in the order of people joining. Maybe he doesn't stream as much as he did, but he does stream on Saturdays and sometimes Sundays. Game dev recently. Also works on Barely Fit. Echo. Good. Highly recommend it. Uh, Tiny. These should now save and come on. There you go. Oh, that's update one. Oh, there you go. So there we go. That was the problem. Custom serializer, deserializer didn't fired for that. Getting too carried away with how easy it is. This has an initiative attached to it, right? And now this. So we're in there. Okay. Are any of the deliverables are they in planning? No. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Now is a true test. We go to status. log. And again, if you have questions, thoughts, opinions, please feel free to share. More than welcome. So that's committed. This is a committed initiative. What I'm looking for is that to change to in planning. So now if we go to status, where's our planning now? What happens? Now, nothing's going to happen very quickly because the system has to react. That's downside. Deliverable status updated. There we go. Initiative phase was updated. Oh, there we go. Initiative phase was updated. Those events went through. Now on this side, if I continue, in planning, that has transitioned itself into in planning. That's what I want to have happen. And that's state based. So in planning and in implementation are states that you cannot set on the initiative. They're indicators that things are happening on it. So you could look at this and know, oh, it's in planning. Things are happening on it. I am going to introduce the concept of review date on initiative. That is definitely something that I want to do for the same reason. Because if you review it on a Tuesday and then you say, oh, it's in planning, I'll review this 2 weeks from now. And I don't like him, but I'll review it 2 weeks from now. And then you come back to review it 2 weeks from now and it's still in planning. Probably want to ask questions. So I'm considering when you set the review date, giving the option to add a note what you're setting the review date for, which will help you track why things are happening or not happening. That's the entire purpose of to keep bringing them back into your view at the right time. And if you're using the system the way it's intended, if you are using the system how I want you to, which is to keep these things under control, then that review date doesn't become a pain. The risk that naturally attaches to doing that is people will just set the review date out and just to get it out of the way so it stops coming up in front of them. And the purpose is not to do that. The purpose is to help you organize your planning. So if you know that you've got 3 deliverables set up that do take quite a bit of planning, you don't want to set the fourth one to within that time period. You want to set that fourth one. Oh, I can't get to this until first because these other 3 are going to take time. That's what I'm trying to help you with, so that you're visibly prioritizing, and other people could potentially look at that and use that to say, oh, this is why they're busy. Strong goals of this entire project is for other people to be able to see what they need from the system without constantly chasing you for what they want, have any context of what you're working on, what's in progress, etc. Nice. Okay. Ooh, got over that bug. Know what that's no, no, custom box types. that might be a little harder than I. But yeah. By the way, this is exactly why review date. What I just did there, I have no idea why or when. Right? I can't track that. So it's kind of one of the reasons why review date helps because I can say, okay, let's review this once and see where we are. I need to organize my task list, my to-do list, because some of them are not necessarily to do; they're to reviews. Some of them are big, long-term ideas. I can get by what I'm doing because these are just events that trigger data to be fetched and whatnot. They give me context. And in this particular case, I'm taking in strongly typed genome, which I can cast back from the and so serialized value is fine. But I should ask the question: why do I need that serializer deserializer if these are events? What what possible data could I be carrying there that has? Let's stop that running for a second. We've got that working. Tendency of clicking off the end or poof. My next thing. Uh, okay then. I condensed all the individual events that are just one-liners into one events. Just how that goes. When what do we do here? When deliverable when a deliverable status is updated. Phase. So thing to remember there is that happens asynchronously. So when I update the deliverable, that saves. On save of that to the database, on commit of that to the database, an event gets published. Um, the outbox then gets processed. So those things are happening independent of the save, which means I can turn back to the client, say, "Yep, I got your data. We're good. I'm happy that we've got the data." But these things happen in the background. So that deliverable that's updated, this gets triggered, and that this can have more logic to it that's specific to this behavior, and that triggers this update phase based on deliverables. This one is going to need a lot of unit testing, but this will probably be a little larger, but it's focused on one specific thing, updating the phase based on the deliverable state. So right now, that's are they in planning? If several of them, if one of them is marked as in progress, then the state of the um, initiative is in progress. I think that's okay. Um, but I can tweak that and play with those rules in one spot here, which I can use independently. That's why I'm building it this way, by the way. Anyone's curious as to this. So I'm not looking at massive files that are, well, okay, I'm updating the deliverable. So do I have any initiatives attached to me? Yes, I do. Okay, now go and look at those initiatives and build those out and change those, etc. So I'm not doing all these things one big. The challenge to doing it this way is these things happen independently. So if they do not run, the state of the system is inaccurate, which is why I had to get that message cleared. So the goal is that these things be well tested and good, so that the failure is pretty low. But when they do fail, I should be able to find them pretty fast, as long as I don't delete that message. And the interesting thing there was, by the way, it didn't move it up. So there's some code not working here because that should have moved it to dead letter queue, which would have told me there was a problem. And I could trap the reason why it's moved. This one's actually a more important one that I need to get dead letter queue on. If it can't process to Kafka, if Kafka's down highly, then, well, this is built to continually retry. We'll just keep trying. I don't actually track failures here. And this topic field is I want to override at the code level which topic is going. Got a dog laying right below my chair. So, okay. So now publish deliverable integration. This now let's run that once more, a little bit more. I can find it. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask. Bit of an off-topic one. How did you get into .NET app as a whole? Like, um, so I'm always up at this. Back in my early 20s, I was more like most people who are early in their career. I was looking at all sorts of languages, looking at all sorts of tools, very interested in learning the best thing or quickest thing. I'd been working in BASIC for several years professionally and started tinkering with .NET 2001, 2002, very early on. .NET 1, early .NET 2 time frame. And then in 2005, I got the opportunity to build something. I was like, I'll use .NET. So I did my research, and I had to build a mobile platform, mobile car parking platform. So I just had to try and teach myself how to do it. Well, no, not even Visual Basic. I was actually in Basic on a Linux, on a Unix system back in 1999 when I started work. I was thoroughbred Basic, DGUX. So line 10, print hello, line 20, go to line 10, that sort of basic. Uh, so I started there, and when I had the opportunity to build, I had the opportunity to build this car parking system. Basically, the idea was that car parking attendants would meet you as you entered the car park, valet parking sort of thing. They go around your car, they take pictures of your car, they print off a receipt saying when you were going to return, etc. And then they'd go and park your car for you. Turned, you give them a ticket, they'd scan the barcode on it, and it'd tell them where the car was, they go and fetch the car, etc. I never built a system like that, but I wrote a client server application that based with the basic backend server, Microsoft, a .NET Compact framework on the mobile devices, rugged mobile devices. Built all that out about a year. That was my first professional exposure to .NET. Yes, trial by fire there as well. By the way, that was kind of nerve, but it worked. The Wi-Fi was not very good in 2005, 2000. Come on, wakey wakey. But changed a lot. I mean, those are experiences early on that gave me a lot of where I am today. I was able. I've had a lot more reflection on that. How much that progressed me. Analyst, where my opinions come from. I think we sometimes get lost in the fact that software development is not just about writing code. A lot of this, we've got to plan, we've got to prepare, we've got to be able to communicate to the business what is happening, where they are in their progress. How do we do that effectively? How do we keep making forward progress on what we're doing? But so there's business rules in this now that I have to answer in terms of if I move, if I have a deliverable in planning and I switch it back to, oh no, we can't do the planning of this yet, defining what should happen. Should I move the initiative back to uh, it feels dangerous in terms of that. But then does it really reflect the state of the system if this says in planning, but all the planning items, all the deliverables um, attached to it also say defining? Should I allow you to go back to defining once you've written planning, or is the rules there? So these are the things I've got to answer now. Yeah, I've got to figure out, can I do this? I got to remember as well. I don't have the camera on. So that paused and then going to be not talking. So again, I've had the reason to introduce this status. Now have implement that. So now next thing I suppose would what comes next here. So once I'm planning, I don't actually have a full review yet, but that would be kind of nice. It wouldn't affect the initiative. It would only affect the initiative if it transitions to these to transition to being implemented. That's going to be an interesting challenge. So these are the ones that actually start implementation, right? Um, Implementation starts when these things do towards. Oh, disable ad block manage. So once they transition into here, they're in implementation. Actually, when do they transition? When would you say something transitions to being in implementation? What is my definition? To me, the backlog is not in implementation, it's pending implementation. think that implementation starts the moment it matches the sprint, or the moment that's going to be very important for me to determine what that definition actually looks like. If I don't, then when? Because that's the next phase that out of. So in planning um, comes um, in planning in progress. So once things move into implementation, then the actual initiative is in progress. Um, and that is the last. Those these two phases are automated. They transition based upon the system state, not transition based upon a user coming. Oh, it's progress. Um, I'm still debating whether I want to allow you to move complete if it's in planning, but you can move it to complete from in progress because there's no really good measure on the system side as to what complete is like, because I could have done all the initiatives planned, all the deliverables we planned, but there's still another 6 or 7 deliverables we need to go off and find. But we haven't done them yet, right? Um, Now that's going to throw up issues because if I haven't defined them yet, and then I go and add one, and it refreshes the status of the initiative says, "Oh no, there's none in planning, so let's transition to committed or whatever." Then and I've got to be very careful about these conflicting states. It's one of the downsides to moving things automatically, but at the same time, I think it tells the best story of the system. So complete will be a phase that you can progress to from in progress, and you're determined. Complete would also mean that you can't attach initiative, a deliverable to initiative. Yes, that's what it is, right? So in here, you can go and edit this, switch on. But these initiatives would be initiatives that are able to be. So any cancelled or complete initiatives won't show in that list. Neither will um, exploring, because you shouldn't really be able to attach deliverables in the exploring phase, attaching discussions, or etc. Meetings. Um, I'm very tempted, by the way, very tempted to divert a little bit and tinker with the meetings. I think that would be a very good demonstration of where I'm thinking, and it would give me all the other hooks. But I think that might also explode my scope. So I'm resisting that urge to go off and in, like, and also from a doxing perspective, I could get very. I'm interested to see if I could add Teams or I know that I can add Google Meet, but the idea would be you can add those two products and take a meeting within the application and get output from them right off. They're kind of fundamental. But anyway, that's a bit different. Uh, where do I go from here? I think proving out some of the behavior. I think the next thing, introduce for review. Once you're in planning, planning is building out the requirements. Once more, the goal is very much to let people see what they need to see when they need to see it. So I have for review on here, but I don't really want for review on here. What I'm thinking is um, integrate meeting recordings of part of the onboarding for an org. You set them up with other video. Yeah, yeah. My goal is very much to try and put all the coordinated. or a individual deliverable and together. So initiatives would show you all the deliverable video, all the deliverable meetings. Here would only show you this deliverable. The goal would be you go in here and schedule the meeting from this, and again, this level on initiative have owner and collaborators. The idea would be that you automatically populate the meeting list with all the collaborators. That's kind of the goal, is to bring it together. So yeah, once you're planning, I know this is a little sparse, but I brought this right back to the drawing board. My initial thoughts were, and the reason I'm backed off on this, by the way, is because I went through and I did a bit of a brainstorming session with our robot overlords, and I kind of brainstormed what these would look like and if they should be automated or they could be. So I ended up with a lot more statuses, and you can, in theory, transition back on these. Like you could go work planning and then say, no, 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 we need to pull this back to ready for review or back to planning. We actually realize there's a big flaw here. So I think the flexibility of moving things back into other statuses is correct here, rather than phases, which the initiatives have phases, can only transition forward. There's no way to go back because there's no point in going back there. Um, I'm using Claude heavily for the front end of it. Claude is doing. I've got Claude Max, and it's done a great job. You can tell I'm using Claude because of comments in my code. Advancing, yes, yeah. Um, but yeah, the purpose of these is very much to be able to show the task. I'm not using Claude on the back end. I'm not using any AI to do coding on the back end. I refuse. Um, I've been experimenting, building apps using Claude, and I'm still appalled at what it does out of the box, and I don't want to spend that much time trying to get it to read my code, understand the structure, do all that. I want to write this myself. So I realize that's going to make me slower, but I'll accelerate through the front end piece by using AI. I'm also using Figma Make for a lot of this as well, so it's helping me. This is my vision being realized a bit. I was doing. So anyway, oh man, the time. Okay. Well, fortunately, I have to call it quits here. I have to go and get ready for work. Um, I will continue to work on this off stream. I've got some deciding to do on. I think. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not going to earn a decent salary. So, paid it, I would do it. But yeah, I think the next phase for this is to add in the uh, ready for review because that's what I was going to say before. So once you mark this as ready for review, implementation, a tab will appear in here that has pending review, and that is the indicator for teams. Oh, product teams want us to look at this, so it's on the teams themselves, the development teams themselves, to go off and look at these things. I want to make them visible. I want to make them upfront because I think as a developer, it is very much your responsibility to make sure you're going looking up if you've got a product team that's delivering requests, requirements, etc. I think it's on you as a developer to make sure you're looking at those ahead of time so you can go into any meeting because meetings feel painful all the time, right? I think it's upon you as a developer to go into a meeting, ask questions, and make sure you're prepared for those meetings. It's a big challenge is making sure you're building the right thing. So asking questions up front. So The idea is once the product manager moves the from planning into review, tab would appear here that's pending review. And I'm still trying to figure out the filtering, the differences here, how I want to show you that, because not everyone needs to see in review or pending review, right? Because only the people that would be affected by these changes. So I think it's going to be very much important to have the projects that it's assigned to, because the projects, development teams are assigned to projects. Projects mean that you see it in here. You wouldn't see a project that you weren't attached to here in here. So you only see things you care about. And it means that you work, if you're focused on one project right now, but you work on another project, then you'll still see the other thing, filter it out and around working. But anyway, that is me for now. I will be returning Wednesday evening, my next stream. That's 6 9 Eastern. But hopefully I've got some of this review stuff done by then. And yeah, we'll make progress. But who do I rate out to? There are really not many. Go to any suggestions, ideas I'd like to go see. Otherwise, I might just go to Last Miles. I've seen Last Miles. Would you recommend? Intended for certain audiences. Tech, alpha, and other exotic animals. And an experienced developer. Yep, go over there. Why do I have no sound? Is a question. Greybeard Unix hacker. And Trap, hello, welcome. Why do I have no sound? Sound. No, I think we were already last. Oh, it's a followers only chat. That in good conscience going followers only chat. Very get the suggestion. Captain Coda. Okay, I have no sound, so I can't hear anything. Apparently, that's good. Very Captain Coda. Very friendly streamer, doing game dev. ASCII dungeon crawler. So we'll go raid the captain. All right. Thank you very much for the suggestion. I just have a problem with going raiding into a followers only stream. I apologize as always for not doing shout outs. Most of you know each other in here, I think. But yeah, we'll go raid the captain. And I will be back on Wednesday evening for another 3 hours of this. Hopefully, this has been fun. I will catch you all later. So, thank you very much.